What's up, guys? Today I'm going over Fiziev Torres, my fight recap of each fight. I'm going to give each opponent who I think they should fight next, winners and losers, starting off with Jefferson Nascimento and Tahir Abdullayev. This was a stupid fight. I thought it was terrible. Jefferson was fighting like he was scared, and Tahir fought like crap. To be fair, Tahir was the only one actually trying to fight. Jefferson wasn't trying to fight at all. He was sort of, leg kicking at range, and whenever he would enter the pocket, Jefferson would hit him with a little overhand and then sort of change angles and pivot out of the pocket and do the same thing. And yeah, it was just a bad fight. Tahir looked terrible. He would, he'd get annoyed whenever Jefferson wouldn't fight him. So this is why I'm going to give him Chaos Williams. I think Chaos Williams would bomb him out cold in like the first round. He was getting all annoyed. He was like, whenever what's his name, Jefferson wouldn't fight with him, so I'm gonna give him a fight. Chaos Williams, the Ox fighter, just bombed out Vertenikov in like the first round, and he also fought 2-fight losing streak before that. It's good opponents. Andreas Gustafsson's pretty alright, and then you have Gabriel Bonfim, who's in the top 5 right now. So as far as like Jefferson, I think I'll give him like a Jose Souza, who looked terrible. That's the guy who went like, "Guys, remember my name, I will be champion," after beating like a 35-9 Chinese man by split decision, who was also unranked. So yeah, I think that would be a good fight for him as well. For Tahir, I think he'd get bombed out. There was also a lot of like just weirdness. There was like a couple like nut shots in that fight, I'm pretty sure, as far as I remember. There's been a lot of nut shots in this card where like, I think in like the first like couple minutes of the first round, Jefferson got nut tapped by Tahir. It doesn't matter. This fight was just terrible. Stoppage was pretty bad too. Jefferson was intelligently defending. He even broke the posture of Tahir at one point, where like literally right before he got stopped, he broke the posture and he was able to get his head down, and he still got stopped. I thought it was a stupid stoppage. If it went to the scorecards, they probably would have given it to Tahir. But overall, I thought it was like 2-0 Jefferson going in that third round. So I think in any other circumstance, Jefferson would have won. But it's just like he didn't look good, and he was also in Baku, and Tahir had that home field advantage where, maybe if like he rocked Jefferson and had him up against the fence, they probably would have stopped it way quicker than if Jefferson had done that to him. But yeah, I think good fights for them would be Chaos Williams for Tahir, and then Jefferson, he gets Jose Souza. On to the next fight on the card, Bezcott versus Gene. Right off the bat, I'm saying Gene won that fight. I scored it for him personally, 2-1. I thought he had the second and third. The judges were smoking crack. I don't know why they gave him that first round. He got dropped, and his Gene's corner was smoking crack as well. They said that because he took him down, he won that round. So I think he should leave his team. Gene should. He doesn't have a very good team. In all of his fights, he has pretty questionable corner advice. Bezcott did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Drop him in the first round, then do nothing for the second and third rounds. So that's why I thought he won. Because Gene, he just had more output. He was switching things up. He was level changing in the shots. First round, Bezcott did pretty well defending those shots. There was like a couple. He defended like 3, I believe, but Gene eventually was able to get it at the end of the round, and then anytime he would shoot, he usually would get it. So yeah, and he also was throwing combinations where, maybe they didn't have the most pop, but he was able to land that like rear leg kick to the lead leg of Bezcott, and that was affecting him heavily. Also, that lead head kick to the head of Bezcott, that was also affecting him and catching him off guard. So this is just why I thought he won. We can look at the fight stats though. First round knockdowns, Bezcott, yeah, he landed more overall significant strikes, and in that third round he landed more overall. Took him down, was able to land a little bit. Obviously, you just can't go off stats. Maybe some of them were on the ground, but I overall thought Gene won, and I'm giving Gene a Jonathan Martinez. I think this would be a good fight. Maybe not for Jonathan, because he's had like killer's row for back-to-back. Jose Aldo and then Marcus McGee back-to-back and lost both of them. He's also coming off a 2-year layoff, so No, probably not the best fight for Jonathan, but it's still winnable. Like, Gene is beatable. He's been shown to be beatable. But, Gene's one of those guys where, like, even if he loses, people think he wins. And then when he wins, people think he loses. So, and then I think I'm going to give Bezcott to Miles Johns. I think Miles Johns is a good fight for him because Miles isn't too chinny, but he's also, like, he's competent enough to where he can give you a good fight. Like, people thought he beat Gene Matsumoto, but I didn't really think so. I thought he had a good fight, but I thought Gene won like 2-1. And yeah, I think for that fight, it was a really good fight, don't get me wrong. Like, Bezcott obviously had more pop between the two, but Gene just landed overall more, and I rate that more than like just landing heavy shots, and in which he didn't even really land that many. I think people were just kind of blinded by the first round knockdown. And Bezcott just sort of has this like naturally known thing to like sell fights. So I think Bezcott versus Miles Johns is the perfect fight for him, because I can just see him bombing him out cold in the first round and then losing to like another prospect, another bantamweight prospect, like a Malcolm Wellmaker or probably not an Ethan Ewing, because Ethan will be fighting in the rankings soon. Anyways, on to the next fight. Daniil versus Theodore went pretty much exactly how I thought, except it was second round. Daniil looked really good. Obviously, he was landing those leg kicks as I said he would, because of the switch stancing of Theodore. Theodore didn't really land that much. He landed a good check hook on Daniil, and Daniil was like, ooh, like, I felt that. You look at Theodore fighting like these regional guys, like he went on a 2-fight losing streak before that. Maybe this wasn't like the best look for Daniil. He still got a highlight reel KO with that head kick, but I feel like he probably should have looked a little better. Theodore did look better than I thought he would, though. Theodore was able to land some shots, but in the end, you're fighting one of the craziest Muay Thai strikers in the division. So, eventually he got caught by a kick and then dropped and then TKO'd with ground and pound. So I think I'm going to give Daniel Rodriguez after he gets slimed out by Uros Medic. I think D-Rod's going to want to come back quick after he gets slimed out, because he's been in jail for 9 months. And, obviously this is a tough fight, but D-Rod's never been, like, scared to take a fight. So, yeah, and then I think for Theodore, I'm going to give him Ramiz Brahimaj. I think that's a good fight for him, because, Ramiz is good. He has UFC wins like Austin Vanderford, but he's not, like, crazy good to where Theodore would be completely outmatched by Ramiz. So I think this fight was a good one, for as long as it lasted. And on to the next fight, Conor Flee, Javier Reyes. Javier Reyes, I'm never even thinking of picking him again, no matter who he goes against in the UFC. He looked absolutely terrible. I don't know how he went 1-0 in the UFC at one point. Literally throwing punches like this and like leaning out. He was throwing like the Charles Oliveira uppercut, where it went like he loops it up and leaves his chin out like that, and looked absolutely terrible. He kind of just fought like an idiot. He got eventually bombed out by a right overhand by Conor Flee. Conor Flee looked good. Probably his best UFC outing yet. Was able to get him with a arm triangle choke. I think that was an arm triangle or a rear naked. Can't remember. But Javier looked terrible. Conor Flee looked really good. So I'm going to give Conor Flee a William Gomez. I think Gomez is a good fight for him, because Gomez isn't too crazy good, where like, he's lost his last one against Sabatini, but he didn't get like completely outstruck. He just got grapple destroyed. And he fought Haider Emil, lost a split decision. Maybe not the best aging win, but he also beat Robert Utrala, which is a pretty alright win for him. And I think I gave Javier Reyes Jamal Emmers, who beat Haider Emil, but Jamal Emmers is a little bit inconsistent, so I could see him somehow making it a little bit like competitive with Javier Reyes, but I think Javier Reyes would get chinned in like the second round. On to the next fight. Sultan Ruziboyev versus Andrei Poliev. Went exactly how I expected, except it was submission instead of a knockout. So, Ruziboyev, I did underrate his submission game before this fight, which probably should have, looked into that a little more, but Ruziboyev looked absolutely amazing in this fight. Able to get the takedown, then just submitted him out with a rear naked. Andre, I think he should get cut. His only win in the UFC, he's 1-3. Only win is against the Jobber and Nick Klein, and he didn't really look that great in that fight. And Ruziboyev's, I think he should get a Rainer de Ritter next. Rainer de Ritter, he got kind of screwed in the meta rankings, where he got ranked 15th. Bo Nichols above him, by the way, in the meta rankings. But in the real rankings, the media ones, he's number 8. So I think it's not too high of a jump for Ruziboyev to where, like, he'll be completely outmatched by him. But I do think Rainer de Ritter would win like a decision over Ruziboyev. I think de Ritter's competent enough to survive in the grappling to where, like, not even survive. I think it would be really competitive. And his striking is probably better than Ruziboyev. Ruziboyev kind of has like that uppercut, and then if he's able to find that shot, he'll find it. But I think I would take Rainer de Ritter to beat him. And Pulev, I think he should get cut. I think he will get cut. He's just not that good. You need to bring up regional guys for him to fight, for him to even get a win. So yeah, that fight was pretty interesting. Yeah. On the next fight, Abdulrahman Yakyaev. Yakyaev looked really good for the 8 seconds that they fought. Was able to land that overhand. Julius Walker threw a really lazy jab and then just got caught for it, which, feel bad for him a little bit, but yeah, Abdul looked good. Julius, even if he didn't get bombed out, I think the same thing would have happened eventually. He's just like, he has like the exact style that Abdul needs to like thrive against, conservative striker like this. You've seen it make things crazy against Abdul Rahman. You need to match his crazy, and he didn't do that for the 8 seconds that they fought. So Abdul looked good. I think I'm gonna give him a Dustin Jacoby next. People are saying Alonzo, but Alonzo went to split with Julius Walker. So yeah, he has a fight scheduled against Sadi Baliev or whatever his name is, but I think he's gonna beat him. Not easy, but I think it'll be like classic Dustin Jacoby performance. And then after that, maybe in like September, October, they can get like a fight night main event going on between the two. As for Julius Walker, I think he gets Rodolfo Bellado. I think that's a pretty good fight for him because, Rodolfo Bellado, he's very like tough. He's able to take punches, but he's not too crazy good of a grappler. He did nuke out Luke the Nuke Fernandez, but Fernandez hadn't had a UFC fight by that point, and he had a couple. So yeah, I think that'd be a good fight for Julius Walker. I think it's winnable for him, but who knows? He could get knocked out. On to the next fight. We have Farman Hassanov versus Eric Nolan. Probably one of the worst fights I've watched in my life. I watched this right before going into work. Farman looked really good on the grappling. Yeah, in the grappling, he got 17 takedowns, attempted 27. In the feet though, he looked slow. He looked just not good. I thought that's why I picked Eric Nolan to beat him. I thought the first round went exactly how I thought, and I was like, okay, Farman's gonna be completely gassed. He's not gonna be able to get those shots in as well as he used to be in the first round. Eric Nolan just completely sold. He got taken down. Had a couple good scrambling positions. He had a really good position in like second round where he just completely reversed it, and then he got taken down as soon as he got back up on the feet. But Farman, I want to see him get bombed out by Charles Radke. I think Charles Radke would absolutely bomb him out in like the second or first round. I think he'd get taken down in the first round, sort of the same thing. Then, the thing about Eric Nolan, the difference between Eric Nolan and Charles Radke, if you had that same Farman Hassanov in front of like Charles Radke, where Eric Nolan was going like, and against a completely gassed opponent, I promise you Charles Radke is absolutely sliming him out in like the first or second round if he even thinks about taking a deep breath. I know I'm making Charles Radke sound like the boogeyman, but still, he looked great. Eric Nolan, as far as him, I'm giving him Austin Vanderford. I think that's a good fight. Winnable fight for him. Austin has a win in the UFC. Can't remember against Eric Nolan. Looked okay. I mean, no, he looked terrible, but on the feet he looked passable. Didn't look great, but if he loses this next one, I think he should get cut. He might get cut after this, I don't know, but Farman, he's gonna get at Charles Radke, and if he fights someone competent enough, even if he gets past Charles Radke, if he fights someone competent enough to defend the takedowns, he's getting colded like a Mike Mallet. I can see him getting colded by Mike Mallet, in my opinion. On to the next fight, we have a Boost versus Mikau. Mikau disappointed me. I don't know what he was doing in that fight. Got knocked down by a Boost. I don't know how that happened. Mikau's a pretty tough guy, but I don't know. Maybe not as tough as I thought he was. A Boost, looked really good. I'm thinking for a boost, I'm gonna give him Ikram. I think, this fight's been overdue for a little while. Ikram looked good against Bruno Ferreira tonight. I'm just gonna mix their two these two together. So Ikram looked good against Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira, I thought he was gonna be able to land the power, but he didn't. He decided to just get taken down, which fairs. Obviously, Ikram's a very good grappler, but I thought he was going to be able to land the power on him. I thought Bruno Ferreira was going to come back in good fashion, but now 2-fight losing streak. Yeah, I'm going to give Ikram a boost and a boost to Ikram. This is a fight where, we've been waiting for it for a while, and I think in that fight I'd probably take Ikram to win a decision. I don't think a boost would be like incompetent enough to where he'd get caught in a submission. I have to look at my notes to see who I gave Mikau, because I low-key forgot. I think I gave Mikau Baisonger Susurkaev. I think that fight would be a good one for him because Susurkaev isn't great, but he's also good. Like, he's talented, don't get me wrong, but if he gets cocky in front of Mikau, I think Mikau's going to cold him. Baisonger got hurt by Eric Nolan, which obviously Eric Nolan's pretty decent. Like, he's somewhat UFC level, but I think Mikau, that fight against Baisonger Susurkaev would be a good one. For Bruno Ferreira, I gave him Cezary Olchechik. Yeah, they're right next to. So Cezary is Mikau's brother who just got in the UFC. He's like 17-4 or something like that, maybe. I cannot remember what he is, but he's a pretty decent fighter. As far as I'm concerned, he has some decent striking. He beat Cesar Almeida by decision. So yeah, I think Bruno Ferreira would be able to, maybe put some mustard on Cezary, but I think I would take a Cezary decision against him. Mikau versus Baisonger, I think I would take like a cheeky Baisonger decision, like split decision. I don't think Mikau would get like dropped by Baisonger. I don't think he has crazy like power. Maybe more power than a boost, but he wouldn't be able to land it as well as a boost. Sorry, that was a weird little like mix up. Like, people are gonna be a little confused about that. Next fight, Asu Alambaya versus Charles Johnson. Charles looked terrible, as I expected. I didn't expect a submission. Asu in the striking looked really good. He did get that little cheeky nut shot in the spinning back kick, but still, overall, he looked great. He was able to like get those leg kicks in, spun around Charles Johnson every now and then, and Asu just looked really good. Probably one of the best nights of his fighting career. I'm gonna give, people are gonna give me flack, but I'm just gonna give him Edgar Chairez. I think there's no one above him that isn't really like that doesn't have a fight scheduled as of right now, and Edgar Chairez looked really good against Bruno Silva. He knocked him down and submitted him, in which Charles Johnson went to split decision with Bruno Silva. Obviously MMA math, but Edgar Chairez, I think he's number 15 right now. Obviously a step down for Asu, but I think if he wins this, we should reward him with like a top 7 fighter. I think Asu, he's not too entertaining to where like you can give him like a rematch with Manel Kape, because Manel's about to fight for the title. You can't give him Tatsuro Taira, I don't think. I think Taira's gonna fight Kyoji Horiguchi next. So this is the best thing we have for him. Piro Chikali, I don't know what that means. So, and don't get me wrong, Edgar Chairez is a dangerous fight. He rocked Joshua Van, but he's a little chinny in his own right. So maybe I'll take like a Asu ground and pound TKO in round 2 maybe. As far as Charles Johnson, I think I gave him Jose Ochoa. I think that would be a great fight. Jose Ochoa is a very talented striker. He had a little bit of a weird one against Clayton Carpenter, where he looked great, don't get me wrong, but Clayton Carpenter would catch him with a couple shots. So maybe we could see a Charles Johnson prospect slime out where it looks terrible in the first round and slimes him out in the second round. So I'm literally setting up Jose Ochoa up for failure. I love Jose Ochoa, by the way, but I think that's a perfect fight for him right now. I think Jose Ochoa needs a little bit of a step up, and Charles Johnson's the best thing for that. Oh my god, this fight, dude. Such a stupid fight. Nazim, what does he even do? What does Nazim even do? Gets slimed out by Fares Ziam and then Mateus Camillo? Like, what? I forgot who I gave Nazim. Let me look. I don't even remember. I think I gave. Oh yeah, I gave Nazim Tommy Gant. I think Tommy Gant was like an NCAA wrestler who looked really good against the headhunter something Minter something Gaz. I don't know his name. He went against this Ukrainian guy. Struggled in the grappling a little bit, but he was able to overcome that and then ground and pound TKO him. So I think Tommy Gant versus Nazim. I want to see another Nazim slime out because I hate this guy. Stupid win against Nicholas Mata. Stupid. It was a good fight, but it was stupid. Made people think he was better than he was. Then he gets slimed by Ferez and then now Camillo. As far as Camillo, I'm giving him Rongju. Rongju just had a very good win against what's his name on the road to UFC. Beat Austin Hubbard. Beat Cody Steele. Had a like rough one with Chris Padilla, but Chris Padilla is one of like the toughest Muay Thai strikers at lightweight right now. So as far as Rongju, or as far as what's his name, Mateus Camillo, let's give him Rongju. Rongju needs to come back to the UFC, get a good win against Camillo, and then we'll see what happens with him. On to the next fight. This is such a terrible fight. Oh my god. So Shara Bullet, the pirate, decides to get dropped bad by Michel Pereira in the first like minute of their fight. Terrible. Sits in the guard for the whole round. Gets ground and pounded. Then he starts pulling on the hair of Michel Pereira. Herb Dean is such an idiot. Like, I like Herb Dean, he's just such an idiot. And then Michel Pereira decides to gas out and then barely throw any strikes. He's like standing at range like this. Oh, he might throw the right hand. And then misses it. Shara Bullet just hits him with a leg kick or two and then wins the fight. Boring decision. Looks stupid. Try to do a little bit of like a, not a point down, but like a, oh, let's fight at the last 10 seconds. Michel kind of stands backwards. Yeah. And then goes backwards for the rest of the 10 seconds. Such a terrible fight. Shara Bullet, he's going to get Kyle Dawkins. I think Kyle Dawkins would slime him out in like the second or first round in the grappling. So Kyle Dawkins obviously had a tough outing against Bo Nickel, but Bo Nickel was very talented. Like, even against like Rainer de Ritter, he was able to take him down. He did get reversed, but still was a very good fight. Kyle Dawkins is very underrated. I think he would be able to beat Shara Bullet. Unless Shara Bullet lands like a head kick on him like in the first minute of the fight. I think Shara definitely has gas issue problems as well as Pereira. So yeah, I think I would take Kyle Dawkins to like round 2 ground and pound TKO. I think Kyle Dawkins is very underrated. And he was just being a little bit overrated in the fight with Bo Nickel. So I think, you know, Shara Bullet isn't what we thought he was going to be. He's not that great of a striker. He has gas issues where like against Michael Venom Page just made him look stupid. Yeah, so he's never going to be like a mainstay in the top 15. I can see him being sort of like a, you know, lingering outside of the top 15. Maybe he'll get ranked every now and then. But if you put him against like an Abus or like a Ikram, I think they would absolutely destroy Shara. Shara has very bad grappling in my opinion. You know, he was able to reverse Pereira, but Pereira, like, he's not the most talented grappler. So on to our main event, Fiziev Torres. Yeah, I said round 2 TKO by leg kicks, but you know, good enough. Spinning heel kick to the head. So Fiziev looked really good. He looked really good, don't get me wrong. Torres just looked a little bit like hesitant out there, which sure, you know, Fiziev's one of the most like dangerous strikers out there. As far as Fiziev, I'm gonna give him Yair Rodriguez. According to Bilal Muhammad, Yair Rodriguez is moving up to lightweight, and dude, this is really the perfect fight. There's really no one other than Tom Nolan that for Yair Rodriguez. I almost gave Yair Tom Nolan. I was like, I don't know, I might have to do it to him, but just because, you know, he's been beating these prospects like Bahamondes and Torres. But I'm glad Yair is moving up to lightweight. Finally, we'll see something from him other than a unanimous decision win against Patricio Pitbull, a wash Patricio Pitbull. But I think Fiziev would absolutely style on Yair Rodriguez. Yair's very talented striker, but just not that great. I just don't think he's all that great, especially coming off a year layoff and his last fight wasn't even against stand at range Patricio Pitbull. like that, and then he dropped him in like the 3rd round, I think. For Torres, I think I said Dan Hooker. That would be such a good fight. I think Manuel Torres would destroy Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's on a very big downfall right now, and he's sort of like, he'll find a way to win, and then he just won't do it. So, like against Benoit, he landed that body kick, and he just stopped throwing the body kick. I don't know why. So yeah, Fiziev gets Yair Rodriguez, and Manuel gets Dan Hooker. I understand Yair isn't ranked at lightweight, and then we're giving like the guy he just beat, Torres, a higher ranked guy. But you know, you have to make sacrifices in MMA, and if Fiziev beats Yair, we can start talking about a Charles versus Fiziev rebooking, or like a Topuria. Apparently Topuria's in talks for against Fiziev, according to someone on Twitter. I don't know who said that, but I think Topuria's management team said that. But overall, it was a good card. I think could be better. No one really impressed me. Fiziev obviously looked good. Yeah, nothing really crazy happened in this card. It was a little bit of an iffy one, in my opinion. Next card is Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. Very excited. No card 4th of July, so I think I'll probably have like 3 videos out before I make my McGregor predictions, which will be sort of like, you know, what ifs. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm sorry this was a little bit of a shorter one, I guess. Maybe a little less like detail. But, you know, in the next video, I'll try a little harder. So, see you guys next time.